Creativity is an addiction. When you look at it through the eyes of a creative person, and trust me, we are all creative. Even in your moment of doubt right now, that's creative. That's creative. You're opening up your senses to say, oh my God, what's he going to talk about on this one? It's an addiction. Unplugged, because we will always say yes to creativity. Totally uncut, because we all make mistakes. So turn it into a tool. This is Arroe Unplugged. I'm a poet, one that just happens to write in a forest. In 2015, I stepped into a very special collection of trees at the Billy Graham Library right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. While there, I did nothing but write, but I never believed that they were my words. They were the lyrics from Billy's forest. Well, 2 years later, God spoke directly into my heart. He said, dude, it's time for you to grow beyond the library, to write within other collections of trees, mainly your own forest in South Charlotte, North Carolina. You see, in every place that I have written, the spirit of Billy's lyrics vibrate the purpose and plan that God has put into play. I never know what I'm going to write about when I enter any forest, which gives us plenty of time to talk about it in the end. Remember, these aren't my words. These are the lyrics from Billy's forest. Chapter number 320, June 26, 2022. When your forest sends out a message of needing help. Something is happening to my forest. The forest floor is very wet. There's a lot of water in the wrong places. For this moment of now, we hold only questions. We begin the process of digging into the soil. We're exposing all things from worms to roots to frogs. The mission is to uncover the source of flow. What's worse? It's probably the fault of the human being who loves his forest with all his life. But the answers aren't easy. We can't seem to see from which direction the water is coming from. There was so much talk about seeping. The deeper we dig, the more water seems to be seeping from the top of the soil. We weren't getting into the real problem. I'm not ready to bring in the heavy equipment yet. That would destroy all things that are natural inside this forest. The forest knows that we are here to offer a solution. Yet another lesson of learning. Oh, we found the problem. And it's happening pretty much all over the world, and I'm sure you've dealt with it as well, that eventually the water lines from the city that you live in eventually break from tree roots and or the weight of the everyday world. They just crack, and then you've got water in your lawn, on your forest floor, city streets go poof. We see it every day. It's happening. It's the infrastructure of this country and around the world. But when it's your child, and I don't mean that in a selfish way, when it's your forest and you see that trees are dying and you're going, why are they dying? It's because they were getting too much water beneath the surface. I learned so much about this process of trying to figure out where the water was coming from. One of the biggest lessons I learned was the importance of mushrooms. Did you know that mushrooms are needed by trees in a forest or anywhere because they are the communicators? They connect the roots of all trees so that they can warn each other. Mushrooms are so important to everything that is beneath the surface of the planet. And yet, when we see mushrooms, a lot of us will hurry up and get the lawnmower and get those monkeys out of there. And when you do that, you're breaking a line of communication. Now, what can we learn from this as human beings? What are our lines of communication? Is it just social media? Is it a text message? Is it Instagram or TikTok? What is the spiritual connection? Not the man-made digital connection. My mother used to tell me all the time, I know what you're doing with you not even being here. And mom was always right. She always knew to place that phone call because she said she felt it. The things in our life that we feel, and many times we don't bring it up in a conversation because we're afraid of facing a truth. We're afraid of what might change in our lives, and in those changes, we'll become challenged. So we don't listen to those lessons or those roots of communication. I'm a very big believer in community connections, that you can look at somebody at a grocery store or a concert and just know in that moment we have a connection. It doesn't mean I want to read their mind. No. It doesn't mean I'm going to bring questions, nor does anybody have to bring any doubt or fear to the situation. You just know when you look in someone's eyes, I think I've lived this life before. How is it that I know you? Well, ask them the question. If the mushrooms are helping with communication beneath the surface and the trees need it, what are we doing in our everyday world to build up our community, our outreach? Do we really have to rely on the digital platforms? Because you know what's happening there. People use it to get you to go different directions. Change your mind. Let's convince you to buy this rather than that. Communication below the surface of self. The lessons we learn when there's too much water on the forest floor. I'm Arroe. These aren't my words. These are the lyrics from Billy's Forest.